Okay, I hope my screen is visible to you. Just confirm once my screen is visible to you. We'll start now. Okay, thanks. So welcome to lecture number 6 of the mobile app development. So basically in last lecture we started with how was the project directory structure for the Android app development, and we completed that and we understood what are the different important directories that we have while we are dealing with the Android application development, and what kind of resources we are supposed to put in which kind of directory. Now, at the time of observing the directory structure for the Android app development, we saw there was some important directory that was available in every Android app or every Android project, and we call that particular directory as the manifest directory. Now, what we said that particular directory contain, this directory contains one important file, and that particular important file was called as the Android manifest file. Now, as you can see here, the Android manifest file is present for every Android project that you create. So even if you create an Android project for any device, this will have a manifest folder, and inside that it will have the manifest file. Now usually this particular manifest file will have the name as the Android manifest.xml. Now as the name suggests, this is basically an XML file and it consists the metadata about your app. It consists the metadata about your app. Now what do you mean by the metadata about your app? It just consists the information about your app. Now what are the important aspect of information about your app? Okay, these are the important aspects about the your app. So as you can see, the manifest.xml file defines what is the structure of your app. It means what are the different components which are available in your app. Okay, as we can say, it defines the metadata about your app. It means what is the name of your app, what is the version of your app, also what will be the minimum SDK version it will use. It means what will be the minimum platform code it will support. Okay, so based on this particular version numbers and the platform numbers, it will suggest which particular OS the app is compatible for. Also, it will define what are the different components of your app, and it will also tell what is the requirement of the app. Now, while installing some apps, you might have observed that your app tells you some dialog boxes such as your app requires access to the internal storage, your app requires access to your contacts. Most of the times while installing the WhatsApp, you might have observed such kind of dialogues. It will say this app requires access to your media files, this app requires access to your contacts. Some apps will say that this app requires access to the network. Okay, so such kind of requirements which are actually required by your app generally resides in your manifest file. Or in short, we can say this manifest file act as a mediator between the Android operating system and your app. It means whatever the information about your app is there, that information will be provided to the Android operating system is via this manifest file. So any Android operating system on which you are going to install your app, that particular OS will know what your app is capable of via reading the manifest.xml of that particular app. Now, the major question remains, how does this particular manifest.xml look? Okay, now this is the example of the manifest.xml I have written here. So this is the shortest example. Since it's basically an XML file, it will start or begin with the XML tag. The encoding is generally UTF-8, so it is generally a Unicode encoding. And every app manifest file will have one root tag, and that root tag is always a manifest file. So always remember that every manifest file in every Android app must have the root tag as the manifest. Now, don't get confused about this particular syntax of the XML. The reason behind this is whenever you create any app, this manifest.xml will be automatically generated. So no need to remember this particular syntax, okay? Because it will be generated automatically. Whenever you want to modify certain features of the app, you just have to modify this particular XML. But there is no need to write this particular manifest.xml from the scratch. Now let's try to see how this particular manifest.xml will look actually when we create the app. So let's start our Android Studio. Now till the Android Studio start, let's try to observe what metadata it gives. So if you see this, it first of all gives what is the actual package for your app classes. Then you can have the multiple versions of your app. Suppose in first version you have given some features, in the second version you have to add some new features. Okay, so it means you are going to release a newer versions of your app. Then you can provide the version code here, the version code here. Similarly, for every version, if you want to provide the version name, you can provide the version name here also. Okay, but whenever you create by default your manifest.xml, this will have the same numbers. So version code will be 1 and version name will be 1.0. Obviously you can modify it, but whenever you create a fresh XML, this will look like in the given slide. So let's see whether our Android Studio has started or not. Yeah, so Android Studio is started. So let's check the manifest.xml. Yeah. So as you can see, this was the app that we have created in the last session. And if I go to this particular manifest, here you can see. Okay. Now, as you can see here, this is an XML file. So very first tag will be the XML tag, and it generally has the encoding as the Unicode. Now, as we already said, every manifest file will contain a root tag, and that is the manifest. So as you can see, this is a root tag. Okay, so all other tags or all other components of the app will be the child of this manifest tag. So as you can see, this is the manifest which start at very first and which ends at the very last. Okay, so all other things will be the child of this particular manifest tag. Now, inside the manifest tag, again you have one more tag, and that is nothing but the application tag. Now, the application tag defines the properties of your application, or you can say the features of your application. And inside this application tag, we have different attributes which will define the properties of your application. For example, if you can see the Android colon allow backup is equal to true. So whether backing up the data for this particular app is enabled or not, that will be defined here. Then what will be the icon for your app? So the icon which will generally displayed on your home screen, that we set here. Okay, so we have already said the icon are residing inside the map folder, and from the map folder we are referring this particular icon. Okay, now we are referring this particular icon. Simply we have to go to the resources. Now whenever we are referring the resources, always remember it will start with @ sign. Okay, so for referring the resources we have to start with @sign. Now, name of the resource directory. Now we said the icons are inside the mipmap. So the name of the resource directory is mipmap, and based on that you can choose your icon. So simply I choose IC launcher round. Now if I say IC launcher round as in the manifest file, you can see there are 6 different IC launcher round PNG files are available, but out of that it will select only one as per your device screen density. Okay, so basically this attribute defines what will be the icon for your app. Then the label defines what will be the name of the app that will be displayed on your home screen. So currently the app name that is displayed on the home screen is referred from one resource. Now why I say this is a resource, because it is starting with @sign, and since it's starting with @sign, it's a resource in the directory whose name is string. Okay, and from this string directory we have to choose a specific attribute. We have to choose a specific attribute, and that is basically called as the app name. So let's see how we can find this. So we'll go here inside the values, and inside that we'll go to the string, and here is the app name we have. Now if you want to change the app name, you can modify it. So since this is the lecture number 6, I'll say test app L6, and when you go to the manifest.xml, this will refer this particular app name from that file. Then what will be the round icon for your app? This will be displayed here. So I'll keep this square icon here, and I'll keep the round icon as this. Now this is one attribute. Android supports RTL. Now can anybody tell me what do you mean by that? Android supports RTL is equal to true or false. Okay, so forget about the true or false. I want to know what is this particular RTL. Yeah, anybody? RTL. RTL. Anyone? So this basic RTL stands for, this basically the RTL stands for the right to left. This RTL stands for the right to left. Now right to left means most of the times if you are using the common languages, it will have the reading direction from left to right, or the display direction from left to right. But suppose if you migrate toward the app where you have to provide the multilingual support. Okay, so you are going to write the app which supports the multiple languages, but some of the languages has the reading or the writing direction is from right to left. For example, if you take the language as Urdu, okay, this is basically written from right to left. Okay, so basically if you are providing a multi-language support, you have to provide the support for the RTL also. So your entire data will be displayed from the right to the left direction. Now this is basically tells what will be the theme of your app. Okay, now the most important thing, what your app can contain is basically an activity. Now we already told activity is nothing but a user interface which is visible on your screen. Okay, so currently we have written only one activity. Okay, and that was named as the main activity. So as you can see, it is showing only one activity, that is nothing but the main activity. Now the activity is defined by the opening and closing activity tag. Okay, so this is the opening activity tag. Now it says this is an activity, and the name of the activity is nothing but the main activity. Now be careful here, every activity starts with dot. Every activity starts with dot. it defines this particular activity is nothing but the class file. Okay, this particular activity is nothing but the Java class file. Now inside every activity, what we have is something called as the intent filter. The intent filter defines the behavior of that activity. So intent filter defines how this particular activity will behave. For example, I can say here we have given the intent filter as this activity will have the action as main. Now when I say the action as main, this will be the first activity that will be shown when we launch our app. This will be the very first activity which will be shown when we launch our app. And when I say the category as launcher, it means this will be shown on the launcher screen. This will be shown on your launcher screen, or we can say that this will be shown on your home screen. This will be shown on your home screen. Now due to this particular two intent filters, our activity is shown on home screen, and whenever we launch a specific app, that particular activity gets launched. Now let's try to observe and understand the meaning of each intent filter here. So currently, as you can see, there is only one activity, that is a main activity. Now let's try to add one more activity here and let's see what happens. So in order to add one more activity, we'll simply right click on the app folder and we'll click on new, and in that we'll select the activity. So since we want to add a new activity, we'll right click on app, new, activity, and on that we'll select an empty activity. Okay, now let's call it as some other activity. Let's call this as some other activity and click on finish. Now what will happen when I click on finish and add activity? It will add some other activity. Now as I said, activity is basically a visible user interface. Two files will be created for every activity. One is the .java file, which we can see here. Okay, which we can see here, some other activity.java, and this Java file will contain a business logic, while its user interface should be written inside an XML, and we already seen that every XML layout file is available inside a layout directory. So inside a layout, for some other activity, one XML file will be created. Okay, so always remember every activity has two files associated with it. One is .java for business logic and another is the .xml for the user interface design. Okay, but this is not the part that we are interested in. So as we see, the activity is created inside our folder or inside our app. Now once you create an activity, you have to observe the manifest file. So I'll go to the manifest file again, and as you can see that when we go to the manifest file, now here we have two activity tags. Here we have two activity tags. The first activity tag is for the main activity, and if you can see here, the second activity tag is for the activity that we have created freshly, that is some other activity. Okay, as you can see, there are two activity tags. One is for the main activity and another is for the some other activity that we have created now. Now, if you observe carefully, the intent filter is given for the main activity only, while the other activity or some other activity is empty. Okay, so I'm not writing anything inside the tag of the some other activity. Okay, now let's try to run this particular app. So we click on the play button that we observe here, and it will start building our app. Now as you can see, it will install the app and it will launch the app. Now by default it is launching the main activity. Okay, I can show you here. Inside a main activity XML we have the button, and inside some other activity we have a blank screen. Okay, now let's add something inside that. Let's add something inside the some other activities user interface. So what we'll do is we'll add one text view here. Okay, and what I'll call here it as, we'll modify the test. Okay, let me change to the code view, and here we'll modify the layout. So we'll modify to the relative layout, and here we'll set the text as some other activity. We'll increase the font size, and we'll display it as the center, and we'll remove the unnecessary attributes that we have. Now as you can see, it is going to display this particular text in a center. Okay, now the thing is, when I am launching the corresponding app, okay, as you can see here, I'll remove this particular app from the memory, and when I go here you can see the test app L6 is shown. Now when I click on this particular app, by default our main activity is starting. Now what is the reason behind this is? The reason behind this is the intent filter that we have given. Now this intent filter says that this particular activity will be available on our launcher screen, that's our home screen, and whenever we'll click on that particular launcher, the by default activity that will be launched is nothing but the main activity, because the main action is set to this particular main activity. Now let's see, we'll remove this intent filter tag from the main activity so that our main activity will now be empty, and we'll paste this particular intent filter tag inside the some other activity. Okay, so what we did, we simply copied the intent filter from main activity and we have pasted it inside some other activity tag. Now let's try to rerun this particular code. So we are going to rerun this app. So let me remove this app from the memory first of all. Now as you can see, whenever it will launch the activity, at this time it will show the first activity as some other activity that we have created. Now the reason behind that is we have given the action main to this some other activity. Okay, now if you see on the home screen, only one app is visible, that is test app L6. That is test app L6. Now let's try to modify some of the features. Now as you can see, only one icon is visible and it basically launches some other activity. Now what we'll do, we'll copy this intent filter and paste it inside a main activity. Okay, now we have both the activities to be shown onto the launcher screen, and we have both the activities to which I have set the action as main. Now can anybody tell me what will happen when I install this particular app? So I have two activities where I have the action as main, and I have two activities where the activities are going to be displayed on a launcher. Now can anybody give me the idea about what will happen in the chat box? Yeah, anyone? What will happen when I run this particular activity? Okay, exactly. So as Kaushik says, there will be two launchers, okay, each launcher for a separate activity. So let's try to run this particular. app. So we'll stop the current execution and reinstall the app after applying the changes. And as you can see, by default some other activity gets launched, and when I see on the home screen, here you can see two test app L6 are created. Okay, since we have given here the category launcher for both the activities, both the activity will be shown on the home screen. Now if I click on the first test app L6, it will show some other activity, and if I click on the second test app L6, yeah, so it's also showing the same thing. Yeah, so this is showing the main activity. If I click on the first test type L6, this will show the main activity, and if I switch to this test type L6, this will show some other activity. Okay, so this is what basically meaning of the intent filter. So the intent filter defines how your activity is going to behave. Since we are given the intent filter of main for both of the activities, both are the activities will be treated as main activity. And since we have given the category launcher for both the activities, both will be displayed on the home screen or the launcher screen. Okay, so this is about the basic things of the manifest file. Now, one thing that we said inside a manifest file is whenever you write any application, it defines some important things about your app. And one important thing that we mentioned here, that is nothing but the components of the app. Okay, so we have to observe what are the actual components of the app. Okay, so let's see the components of the app. Now, as you can see on the screen, these are the various components of the app. Okay, now the components of every Android app can be divided into two types. The components that every Android app must have, the components that every Android app must have, and the components which are optional to every Android app. Okay, so the app can have any app means these components are optional, means even if you insert these components inside your app, it's good. Even if these components are not available inside your app will work fine. Okay, so the first component, so the first component that we called is an activity. Now we said activity is nothing but a screen inside your app which is visible on your device. Then every activity will have a view or the user interface. Now view or the user interface means these are nothing but the user controls. These are nothing but the controls. And the next thing is something we call it as the intents. Okay, now what do you mean by intent? Okay, so let's try to understand what do you mean by intent. For example, let me switch to my device screen. Okay, let me switch to my device screen, and suppose if I want to share something, if I want to share something, let's say if I open something like, okay, let me take one example, or let me choose an example or a proper example. Let's say suppose if I open an Amazon app. Okay, let's say if I open an Amazon app. Okay, from this particular Amazon app, suppose if I, okay, so let it load. Suppose if I go inside a mobiles. Now inside a mobiles, suppose if I choose any of the phone here. Okay, let me choose any of the product. Okay, so this is the product I chose here. Now currently you can see this product information is available. This product information is available on the Amazon app. Now if I click on the share button, okay, if I click on the share button, then it will show me the various other apps that can share this particular data. So let me choose a Gmail here. Now if I choose a Gmail, you can see I am switched from the Amazon app to the Gmail app, and whatever the data available from inside the Amazon app is now shared with the Gmail app. Okay, now what had happened here? We have a data which is shared from one app to the other app. Okay, so what we did currently is, so we shared a data which was available inside an Amazon app. We shared that particular data with the Gmail app. Now such kind of sharing of data between the apps is done via some entities or via some components, and these components are called as the intents. So intents basically allows us to share the data among the two different apps. So these are the must-have components for every Android application. So every Android application should have at least one activity, so that some kind of screen will be visible on your device. Then every Android app must have at least one control with which the user can interact, and your Android app must have at least one intent so that it can share data with any other app. Then what are the different optional components? Okay, what are the different optional components? So these are the different optional components. So first optional component is basically the thing called as the services. Now the activities and the services, both are the exactly opposite things. Both are the exactly opposite things. The activities basically has the user interface, while the services does not have any kind of user interface. It means activities always runs in the foreground, okay, while the services always runs in the background. Always runs in the background. What do we mean by that? Okay, for example, if we go to our device, if I go to our device, then I can see the WhatsApp messages here. Okay, when I'll open the WhatsApp window, it will open the WhatsApp application windows. But how I'll come to know that a new message is arriving for me? Okay, that is via the WhatsApp services, which is always running in the background. Okay, so even if you haven't opened the WhatsApp window, whenever someone sends you the new message, you will be informed about that particular message. Okay, you will be informed about that particular message. Now this is because of the service. Now whenever I'll open the Facebook, I'll be able to see the news feeds. But if someone sends you the friend request, how you will be able to inform that? Okay, that is because of the service which is always running in the background by the Facebook. It will automatically generate you notification whenever someone sends you the friend request. Okay, so this is about the service. So activities runs in the foreground while the services runs in the background. Now what do you mean by the content provider? Now content providers are usually required to share the data. Okay, for example, if I have some contacts app and if I want to share the contacts with some other application, in that case we have to use something called as the content provider. Okay, so whatever the data available on your device and you have to share that data with any of the app, then you have to use the content providers. Then there is one last thing that any app can have, and that is basically called as a broadcast receiver. Now can anybody tell me what do we mean by a broadcast receiver? What can be the general meaning of the broadcast receiver? Just reply in the chat box. What can be the general meaning of the broadcast receiver? The name itself says that it is something related to the broadcast. Just anybody? What do you mean by broadcast receiver, or what will be its job? The broadcast receiver. What will be its job? So basically, the broadcast receiver stands for something which receives the broadcast messages. Something which receives the broadcast message. Now, these broadcast messages are not the actual SMS messages that you receive, but this is something at the system level broadcast. Okay, let me give you an example. Suppose if you are listening a song, okay, suppose if you are listening a song on some music app, and while listening a song, some important call comes to you or someone calls you. Okay, then to whom that particular priority should be given? Either to the song app or to the caller app. Okay, of course, the priority should be given to the caller app. Okay, so while listening the song, you will be informed about some incoming call. Okay, suppose if you are playing a game, suppose if you are playing a game, and while playing a game, suppose the battery goes down, the battery goes down. Okay, so immediately it will pause the game and it will inform you about the low battery. Okay, now these are something called as the broadcast messages. So whenever your phone's battery goes down, it will send a system level broadcast message, that is your phone's battery is less than 15% and you have to connect a charger. Okay, so whenever you are listening a song and someone calls you, the caller app sends a broadcast message across the system, so that every app will come to know that someone is calling you. Okay, now in order to receive such kind of broadcast message, your app can have the broadcast receiver. Your app can have the broadcast receiver, so that your app will inform you about the broadcast message that are being generated at the system level. Okay, I think this particular concepts are clear to you. Okay, just tell me if you have any doubts in this. Okay, just tell me if you have any doubt till now. Yeah, anyone if you have any doubt in these components. Yeah, please reply in the chat box if you have any doubt in these components. Yeah, anyone? Okay. Okay, now we saw these are the different components which belongs to every Android app. Some components are compulsory and some components are optional. How to define these components in manifest? Okay, now these are the different tags which can define the components inside a manifest. Okay, so we have already seen how we define the activity inside a manifest is via the activity tag. And as you can see, since here are two activity tags, I can say there are two activities inside my Android app. Okay, so basically the activities inside the Android app are defined in manifest.xml via the activity tag. Then how you can define the service? You can define the service by using a service tag inside a manifest file. Okay, so if you have some important operation that is going to be run in the background, okay, what you have to just do is you have to create a Java class. Okay, that Java class should be a subclass of a service class, and you have to include one service tag inside a manifest.xml, which will tell every Android operating system that you are going to install the app on that your app contains one service also. Then we said our app can have a broadcast receiver. Then how you can define the broadcast receiver inside a manifest.xml? By using the receiver tag. By using the receiver tag. Similarly, if you are going to use the content provider in your app, you can define it by using the provider tag. Okay. Other than that, what you can additionally have is basically the permissions. Okay, so someone will ask, that is, once we install some app in the Android, then it might be a security issue, because any app from any untrusted source may have access to your contacts. It may take access to your SMS, or it may take access to your internal storage or your gallery. Okay, so it can anonymously read your gallery or contacts, and it may send this particular information over the network to some other person. Or there might be the possibility that some app is going to access the camera of your device in the background without your attention, and it will record whatever the things that are happening around you, and it will send silently across the network. Okay, some might think that. Okay, but such kind of security issues will not be available inside the Android. The reason behind this is whenever you are going to use such kind of important access to the user data, or some such kind of important access to the features, you have to mention those permissions. Inside the manifest file. Now let's see the demo here. Here we have created one app. This is the test app L6. So I'll click on the app info, and if I go here inside the app permission, here you can see currently it is not asking for any kind of permission. Now how we can add the permission? So you can add the permission inside the manifest by simply adding one tag inside the manifest, and that is called as uses permission. Now if I say uses permission for the network access, or uses permission for the internet. Okay, let me add one more permission tag here. Uses permission for the internal storage, or let's say uses permission to call. Okay, and if I rerun the app, so it will launch the app. But when I go to the app information, you can go to the app information and see the permissions here. Okay, now it will ask you this particular permissions. So this particular app requires access to the telephone, and unless and until you grant this permission, this app cannot access the telephone feature. Okay, similarly, if you are requesting some additional features, such as access to the camera or access to the network, this will be informed here. Okay, so basically whenever your app wants some extra permissions, you have to request those permissions inside the manifest. Okay, and once you request these permissions inside a manifest, your OS will give you an option where you can either approve or reject these permissions. And once you reject these permissions, your app cannot access those features unless and until the user approves those permissions. Okay, so used this is basically used to reduce most of the important security issue that your app may have, if if your Android app tries to capture the data without permission. So these are the important things that you have to implement for the manifest.xml. Now before the meeting ends,